Okay, sir. So let us try to first divide this course into three broader categories. Okay. The first thing is what are the roles that are available? So if you want to become or choose a career in cloud, what are the different options that you have to choose as a career? That is the first thing. And the next thing is what is that we cover here? The third thing is we'll discuss a little bit about our course and then we'll go for Q&A. Okay. So are you okay with that, sir? Yeah. Right. So cloud roles. Okay. So generally in cloud, you have, shall I zoom it? Yeah. Okay. Solutions architect. Okay. You have a role which is called as cloud engineer or cloud admin. Then you have cloud developer. These roles have nothing to do with which cloud you are learning. Let it be AWS, Azure, GCP, any cloud which you learn, these are common roles. Generally, the cloud names comes in the beginning. Azure Solutions Architect, Azure Cloud Engineer, Azure Cloud Admin. If it is AWS, you will get AWS Cloud, AWS Solutions Architect. That's the basic thing. Okay. Now, cloud. Okay, let me try to write it as specializations. So these three are generic roles. They exist for every project. Then there are some specializations. Specializations are very specific to some area which your organization is working. So one such area is AI or ML engineer. Okay, so we have data engineer. Okay, and then we have IoT engineer. Okay, and then we have networking is fine, but let me try to write it as security engineering. Okay, there are some smaller roles, but I'm not speaking about it. On a broader note, you take any cloud, these are all the roles available. Okay, so you have solutions architect, you have admin, you have developer, and then you have specializations. Okay, right, fine then. So let us try to understand what these roles are all about. Sorry. Okay, fine, sir. So basically, what are the roles which we are trying to speak about? Let us think of a scenario. We all use Swiggy, right? Swiggy or Zomato. Okay. So for some time, let us just go with the assumption that, okay, icon or logo, whatever you call it. Yeah. Swiggy is running its operations out of two data centers in India, but I'm just trying to use one data center. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So generally in organizations, in your data centers, you would have, let me use this. So this one is better. Okay. You would have a lot of physical infrastructure. Okay. Right. So, so this is how your servers would look like in a normal organization. If it depends on the other areas, that it might be much better organized than this. So for example, this looks little bit organized than whatever we have seen that. So there is a data center organization. Okay, right. So here each of this is representing this rack which you are trying to see. Okay, right. So then what they are trying to do is they are directly not running applications on the servers. Okay, so no company is doing that at this moment. Very few do that. Okay, because running an application on a server might not be a good idea. Okay, because generally these servers are little bit on the higher side of compute. So this server might have 32 virtual CPUs and 256 GB of RAM. So on that running one application is not a good idea. So generally what they do is, okay, okay. I'm quite sure that you might have heard about the name called as VMware. Yeah. So your organization would basically use VMware software suite. So there are products like ESXi and all of that stuff. And using this VMware, what they do is they basically create something which we call as virtual machines. Okay, right. Or let me use this. All right. Now what happens is on one physical server, I can run n virtual machines depending on the size of virtual machines which you choose. This is a cost saving option for your organization. Yeah, right. So I've just drawn 3, but there will be much more. This is what they are running right now. In this case, these physical servers will have networking. Do you agree with me on this? If physical server networking, they will have some kind of networking in that. That has to be maintained by Swiggy. Physical servers maintained by Swiggy. Okay, power connections maintained by Swiggy. Data centers generally need to be maintained at a very lower temperatures. So that needs to be maintained by all of them. And in addition to that, they are basically running their applications in virtual machines. So let us assume that this is a Windows server for some reason. So Windows will be releasing updates. Okay, so generally when you update your machine, sometimes it will ask you to restart. But if the server is restarted, your customer might be using that application. So I cannot restart everything at one shot. So all of these activities I have to do in my own way. Okay. Now, if you remember, few years ago, all of us used to carry pen drives or USB drives. Okay. Are you doing that now also? Are you using pen drives now, sir? Why? What is that has replaced your pen drive? Yeah, we are using Google Drive or OneDrive or whatever drives which we basically use. So rather than using storage from a device, we are using storage as a service, right? So wherever you have, you ensure that you have internet connectivity, log in into your account and you can access whatever you have stored, right? So your organizations also want to have similar comfort, but not in the matter of pen drive, but everything. So that is exactly what clouds offer. Okay. So when you go to any cloud, okay, okay, right, AWS, Azure, or GCP, all of these 3 things are called as public clouds. The reason why they are called as public clouds is these infrastructure, whatever you are having. Okay. So servers are owned by cloud service providers. Or to be very specific, let me try to call them as. Is it making sense, sir? So my organization need not do anything physical in nature. So if I'm going with Azure, Azure is responsible for all the physical servers. If I take AWS, AWS is dealing with all the physical servers. So for me, no physical server maintenance, no networking, nothing. Okay. But there will be a space which is virtual. So whenever you're working in cloud, you are dealing with everything that is virtual. So this server in which you are trying to run your application, you would be running in a virtualized way. So are we clear on this, sir? This is a basic transition. And then there are other options. Now, let me speak about this. Swiggy should have a database. Do you agree with me on that? Every day, whenever you are ordering your food items or whatever it is, invoices and or what, they are getting stored, right? So whenever those kind of things stored, they get stored in a database. Okay, right. Now, if I ask you to, if I give you a server and then try to tell that bring me a database up over here, what is that you do? నేను మీకు ఒక సర్వర్ ఇచ్చి నేను దీన్ని డేటాబేస్ గా వాడుకోవాలి అనుకుంటున్నాను. मैंने आपको एक सर्वर दिया और बोला मैं इसको डेटाबेस सर्वर चाहिए मुझे इसमें. So what is that we typically do? We download the software, we follow the instructions, we install it, and then we configure it. Okay. So now in that case, let us assume that you have installed a server or database on a Linux machine. So to be specific, let us assume that it is Red Hat Linux. And then the database which I have asked you to install, let us assume that it is Postgres. Okay. Now your responsibilities have increased. So you have to maintain Linux. In addition to that, you also have to maintain Postgres now, because Linux also will be giving updates. Postgres also will be giving updates, right? So when we do these kind of things, generally what happens is the amount of administration increases. But what clouds tell is, I will give you database as a service. You tell me which database you want, what is the size which you want, you will directly get it. There is no need for you to patch or no need for you to do anything. We will get the things for you. Okay. So with 1 week of training, okay, right? With 1 week of training, anyone, whether you are from technical background or non-technical background, whatever it is. And this is not about Azure, this is about any cloud. Okay. So you can do almost all the DBA activities. The only thing which you cannot do is there is something called as performance tuning of SQL queries. So this we can't do. So now you speak about backup, you speak about replication, you speak about creating one more database from backup. You and me can do all of that, even though we are not from a database background, right? So basically what is happening to my organization is I can focus on building applications rather than really running infrastructure. Are we clear on this, sir? Yes. So you have database as a service. Similarly, there is one more interesting thing which is called as platform as a service. I'm quite sure that you might have heard about programming languages like Java, .NET, Python, and all of that stuff. Okay, right. So generally, let us assume that I have built a .NET application. I typically run it on a server which is called as IaaS, if it is something to do with web. Java applications, I might run it on Tomcat. So again, the story is same. You take virtual machine, if it is Red Hat, on top of it, you install this, and then you maintain this. But platform as a service, what it tries to tell is, tell me your technology, give me your code, I will run the application. That is what platform as a service. There are many such offerings. So what our organization can now focus on is completely on our business. So what are the features which I need to add to Swiggy rather than how to run Swiggy? Are we clear on this, sir? Yes. So generally in cloud, there is one more thing which you need to understand. There is something called as SLA. SLA stands for service level agreement. Okay. So you are using Google Drive, right? Okay. So if I use storage from any cloud, so they try to tell me that your storage will be accessible 99.99% of the time over the year. Okay. So what is that they have promised us? 99.99% of the time. Okay. So that means that your storage might not be accessed for 0.001. Do you agree with me on this? 99.99% నేను అవైలబుల్ గా ఉంటానంటే 0.001% అవైలబుల్ గా ఉండననే కదా అర్థం. ఓకే, సో నౌ ఇఫ్ యూ డూ దట్ మ్యాథ్, ఓకే రైట్, సో 356 days into 24 hours. Let us assume that this is our 100%. Okay, so then into 0.001. So what is it? Approximately it will. I need to still divide it further, but let us assume that it is 8 minutes. Okay, so fine. Now this means that your storage might not be accessible for 8 minutes. But if this number becomes 18 for any reason, Azure will pay you back credits, AWS will pay you back credits, GCP will pay you back credits, because they have to stick to this SL. Okay, are you clear on this, sir? So it is not that they just give you infrastructure, they give you this some guarantees also. Those guarantees are something which we call as SLS. Did we understood this part, sir? So for running the applications, you will have convenient options over here. Okay, right. So there will also be costs involved, but the whole point is, but how can I move to from here to here? You can simply say migration. But the point which we need to understand is, here I am running database in a virtual machine, but I have just now said that there is something called as database as a service. So here we need to take a help from solutions architect. So this person is who understands customers architectures, okay, and proposes a solution to run the application workloads in an optimal way. So optimal way could be, your organization might have said that I want to focus on costs. For me, performance is not really a matter. Okay. The other way around is, I'm not worried about too much about cost. Don't want cost to be too high, but my focus is on performance for my customers. So based on what your critical things are, this person will basically understand and proposes a solution. So this solution is generally a design or architecture. Are we clear on this, sir? So now, do you agree that for doing this, this person also needs to understand how things run in non-cloud world? Non-cloud world lo ela run avutayo itaniki ఖచ్చితంగా తెలిసి ఉండాలి. Okay, so this person needs to know how to make the things, or how the things work in non-cloud world, and also about cloud. Okay, right. So cloud engineer implements the solution proposed by architect. So if architect proposes a design, actual work is done by cloud engineer. Okay, and in this process tries to automate the routine activities. If you are doing the same activity multiple times, these guys will work on automation of it. And then, so cloud engineer is also responsible for maintaining the solution. It is just not moving it once time and then giving it back to customer, right? The solution has to be maintained. So this will be done by cloud engineer or cloud admin. Are we clear on these two roles, sir? Yes or no? Then cloud developer. Okay, so do you remember a company called as Dropbox by any chance? If you remember that company, before Google Drive came into play, those were the company who were giving us 1 GB of free space whenever you create an account. Okay, even today that exists. Okay, right. So Dropbox basically uses, or 2 years ago, Dropbox used to use AWS completely. So when you are uploading any file into Dropbox, actually you are not storing in Dropbox, you are storing in AWS. So when you look at the Dropbox, when you are uploading anything into Dropbox, it was storing in AWS. So that has to be done programmatically, right? When you upload anything onto the website, it goes and stores in other cloud. So for that, we need to write some developer who writes code for that. Okay. So these guys work on modifying existing codes to suit to the new solution. So this architect, while proposing, might have said that if you make the smaller changes, then we can save costs. So then these guys work on it. Okay. Work with cloud SDKs. SDKs is software development kits. Okay. To programmatically access them. Okay. And then these roles, they are specializations. If your company is working on artificial intelligence or machine learning, Azure gives you some services where you can do that thing simply. Similarly, data engineering, I'm quite sure that you might have heard about big data. Big data, Narendra. Big data, the problem with big data is big data doesn't scale. Okay, as and when your storage or amount of things added gets added to big data clusters, it doesn't scale. It becomes very difficult to manage. So what lot of organizations are doing is, anyway, cloud is giving you better storage, so they are moving their data lakes into cloud. Okay, so and then in it, along with that, they also have to fetch the data from various sources. So these guys build something which we call as data pipelines. Okay, so yeah, that is done programmatically, but that is what data engineers do, and IoT engineers. So IoT is almost everywhere. Whoever is wearing a smartwatch, you have some kind of IoT around you. Okay, so these are all the specializations. But if you speak about our course, okay, our course is not about this. So we are focusing on solutions architect and cloud admin. And here one more thing. So generally, just because you have written the solutions architect as exam, no company will give you architect. Let us be very clear on that. Okay, నేను architect exam pass అయిపోయాను కాబట్టి నన్ను architect ఎవరు ఇవ్వరు, right? So generally in a corporate or in an IT ladder, it takes at least 7 to 9 years for you to become a architect. Okay, yeah. So even if your plan is architect, first you need to know many things around. So most of us will end up in the role of cloud engineer. Okay, and to that we add automation and we become something called as cloud ops engineer. That is our career progression, and then into architectures. Okay, so right, fine. Then let us try to basically, these are the cloud roles that are available. Now let me try to look. So what we have to offer. Okay, first thing, generally curriculum will be shared to you via emails and all of that stuff. I'm not speaking about curriculum, but generally what we do is, each service, okay, right, for example, we are learning about virtual machines. Okay, so what we do is, we will learn in two perspectives. One is a design perspective, the other one comes in implementation and maintenance. So if you have to design some solutions around virtual machines, what is that is possible? Every service will do this. Okay, when we learn storage, so this design of these things will help you in your architect's career, and implementation will basically help you in doing the cloud engineers roles. Okay, and then over here, okay, when we want to do the things in implementation, okay, there are three ways of doing the things. Okay, I'll show you two ways now. So let me log in into Azure. Okay, this is the Azure portal you will be creating an account and then you can use the Azure portal. Okay, sir. Now, in this, are you saying there are some certain things shown? This is something which I'm doing from UI. Now, what I'll do is, okay, if you want it to be, am I getting the same information? BCDR, my key pairs network. So, am I not getting the same thing? Yeah. So, if I want to do any operations, am I able to do the things from here? Yeah. So for a cloud engineer, this way of using is important because if I'm using cloud from command line, I can do automation. I can do automation. Here, no matter whatever you do, okay? So you have to do this every day by logging in into website and clicking over here. So let me try to tell you a simple exercise. So your company is using virtual machines for developers. To save cost, what they said is, okay, can you do one thing for me? Every day at 9 o'clock, start these 20 virtual machines, and exactly at 7 o'clock, shut down all of them. This is the work which they have given. If you use this portal approach, you have to do it manually. But if you use the CLI approach, you can go for automation. You write some commands and call that commands exactly at 10 o'clock by using something called as cron job, or there are many ways to call commands. You can do those kind of things. Okay, so for us it is important as a cloud engineer to learn this way of doing the things. Okay, and then that is what I have said. One is portal. When I speak about portal, this is nothing but a website where you can basically access Azure. The other one is command line. Command line is where you use CLI or PowerShell. And then there is one more way which is called as template. Okay, if I'm doing the same thing again and again, and if I'm dealing more with respect to creation and deletion, okay, so then what you can do is, okay, this is basically from DevOps world, but here what happens is there is something called as infra as a code. So whatever infrastructure which you want, you will declare, okay, and you would write some kind of a template. So for this, we learn something called as ARM templates. Quite recently, Azure has given something called as Azure Bicep. If you are learning also DevOps, then you will also do the same work from. This is very important these days. Okay, so you go and look into any job specifications, they will try to speak about Azure, and in addition to that they will have something like, okay, ARM templates, and Terraform or Bicep, whatever it is. Bicep is a new thing. Very few companies have started adopting it, but this is a better way than ARM templates. Okay, so here what we do is, whatever you want to create, you will declare that, or you will try to tell what is that you want, and Azure will do the rest for you. Okay, right. So think of it in this way. So your bank, State Bank of India might have sent you a New Year message. Okay, వచ్చిందా New Year message? Bank manager రాశాడు దాన్ని. So from your bank, whatever message which you have received, do you think that bank manager has personally composed it for you? No. So they have a template, and then they run the template across all the customers, and then values get replaced and mails get sent. Now think of it in the same way for creating infrastructure. So you have to deploy the same infrastructure in multiple environments. Then we write the template. According to your environment, some values get changed, or infrastructure gets created. Once you are done, it gets created. So creating that kind of reusable templates, that is what this is about. Are we clear on this, sir? So Generally, you have seen people only learning this. But the problem is, this doesn't scale. I have set you the simple example. Every day morning at 9 o'clock, starting 20 VMs, and evening at 7 o'clock, shutting down all the 20. So if you go with this approach, every day you have to do that work manually. And in this day and age, no one does that. Okay, right, sir. So now I will be allowing you. So for the people who have came here only for Azure, not for DevOps. Anyway, I teach DevOps over here. So cloud engineer, okay, is a good role, but cloud ops is a better role. There is one role which is called as cloud ops. The easiest way of looking at it is cloud engineer plus DevOps engineer. Okay, here you are multi-skilled. If you go and look into any job descriptions, you will see most people asking for the second one. Okay, so I'll be allowing you for two topics. One is CA or CD using Jenkins, and then we would be learning something called as GitOps. Okay, right. And then when we learn Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, that is because I want you to add this things to your resume so that it looks better rather than just learning only Azure administration. Okay, right. So this is basically what we would be doing. Okay, and from tomorrow onwards, CI/CD in Jenkins starts. How many of you are here to learn only Azure? Only Azure. Okay, so even if you're only Azure, for the next 3 weeks, you have to come to Azure class as well as DevOps class. Am I clear on this, sir? Because I'm going to start CI/CD using Jenkins there, and I would expect. Don't treat it as complimentary. It is not complimentary, sir. It is mandatory. Okay. మీకు దాని విలువ 2-3 జాబ్ డిస్క్రిప్షన్లు చూస్తే తెలుస్తుంది. Okay, so I would expect everyone to be here, whether you are learning only Azure DevOps. Anyway, you are learning. If you are learning Azure and DevOps, you will come to DevOps classes. There is no problem around it. Okay, right. And then workshops. Right. This is something which I've started 2 or 3 from last 2 or 3 months. Here, what we would do is each month at least we will have one workshop. Okay. So this workshop will be for 4 to 8 hours. Okay. So in this 4 to 8 hours, what we will do is we will try to basically you and me will be trying to doing the things. So for example, let us assume we learn virtual machines. So we'll have a workshop on virtual machines where we will, after learning all the virtual machines, we'll be trying to solve certain problems which arise on cloud. So that problem could be or doing automation, that problem could be troubleshooting, that problem could be anything, but you and me will be working along. But this generally will be on weekends. Okay, so weekends somewhere around morning to evening. Okay, so last time the workshop has happened from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Okay, right. Please ensure that you don't say that I am busy and all of that stuff. Okay, right. So are we clear on this? And one more thing, if you don't have time to practice at least for 2 hours in a day, kindly don't join this course. Workout avadu. Right? If you don't have time to practice, this course will not work out for you. I'm quite sure many of you might have been referred by my old students. I don't want to spoil their as well as my reputation. So ensure that if you have 2 hours of time to practice at least, then only join this course. Right? Because the problem with cloud is, sir, it looks simple, but actually it is difficult. DevOps looks like a beast, so there is no problem. You will give attention to it. DevOps కనబడటమే పెద్ద భూతంలా కనబడుద్ది, దానికి మనం అటెన్షన్ ఇస్తాం. రైట్? క్లౌడ్ వాట్ వి డూ ఇస్ ఇట్ లుక్స్ సింపుల్. ఏముందిలే అర్థమవుతుంది కదా అన్నట్టు విల్ టేక్ ఇట్ ఫర్ ఎ లైట్. బట్ ద ప్రాబ్లమ్ ఇస్ DevOps is not a volatile thing. You don't forget DevOps easily, but cloud you forget easily. Okay, so trust me on that. So ensure that you give enough attention to cloud, because eventually what you would start doing is we generally try to address which looks scary, right? So we give most of our attention to that. So don't do that. Okay, right. By the end of training, can we clear certification? Or he has asked me specifically about AZ 104 certification, but let it be AZ 104, 303, 304, or AZ 400. AZ 104 is admin cloud admin certification. AZ 303 and 304 are about architecture. AZ 400 is about DevOps. You can solve all of these certifications, but there is one difference, sir. In our classroom, we will discuss all the concepts that are required for that exam. But the difference is, here our discussion is subjective. So we will try to understand what that concept is and all of that stuff. But Azure exams are objective in nature. Okay. So in addition to all of this, there are Microsoft Press books. Okay. So after you finish this course, go through that book. There will not be even a single extra topic which you learn. But for certification exam, you need to remember certain things. That is an exercise which you need to do. So if you belong to Telugu states, after intermediate, you might have written MSET. Syllabus wise, it is exactly the same. But the difference is IP basically exam is subjective in nature. The other one is objective. You need some extra prep, right? That extra prep is what I'm. So in this class, will I try to tell that, okay, certification lo question adugutar? No, my focus is on working. Okay. So am I clear on that, Shiva? So if you click on this YouTube, okay, so there will be certain essential contents available over here so that you can use that any. So in this, if you click on playlists, you will be seeing a playlist. Are you seeing cloud essential sessions? So this is completely non-technical introduction to cloud. As a cloud lo em jaruguddi another non-technical introduction. Just while you are on a metro also, you can have headphones and listen to this. Okay. So this is something which I would expect you to do. But eventually, right, in the next few days, you should start Linux. Okay. And also you will have Windows also, PowerShell. Yeah, Windows PowerShell. Okay. Right. So the common learning content, I'll try to use this channel. Specific content you will be getting daily in our classes. Okay. Right. Right, sir. If you have any questions, you can unmute and ask, sir. Any questions in the classroom? I have unmuted you. Azure only works in Microsoft. I didn't got that question. So Azure, no, sir, that is not the case. If you are trying to speak that Azure works only with Microsoft products, no. Okay, Azure has a large scale product. So for example, 80% of the workloads in Azure are Linux workloads. AWS is totally different from Azure. No, sir, I'll put it in this way. Okay. So for doing these kind of things, we have three popular cloud providers. Okay. AWS from Amazon, Azure from Microsoft, and GCP from Google. Okay. If you try to look at these three things, it is like you have decided that you want to purchase a SUV. Now you are figuring out whether you want to go with Mahindra or Toyota, right? Both will have same features. Okay, there might be slight differences in the cost, but at the end of the day, it is an SUV. Okay, so every cloud is equally. There is not even a single feature like this. Okay, this will only work in Azure. No other cloud can do this. There is not even a single feature like that. But every cloud has its own area of expertise. So, for example, Azure is very good in hybrid cloud. Okay, companies which use uh, their existing physical servers or virtual machines, and along with that, if they are using cloud, that is what Microsoft started selling. Google is very good with data. So when we are speaking about data engineering, GCP is very strong there. And when it comes to AWS has the best advantage which AWS has is the first customer of Amazon is Amazon. Okay. So whatever features that they develop it because they are using either in Amazon Shopping or Amazon Prime Music or any of their Amazon kind of products. So Microsoft and Google, that's not the story. So a cloud kunde advantages that kunde. Okay. So, but in terms of number of users, AWS is the highest used cloud. Azure is the second used cloud. GCP is the third best. 1 year ago, in the third place, it was Ali Cloud, the cloud from Alibaba from China. But now it is GCP. So there are no differences actually. Okay. And to be very honest, companies have stopped using one cloud now. ఇంతకుముందు అలా ఉండేది, ఒకే క్లౌడ్ వాడతాం మేము అని. ఇప్పుడు అలా ఏం లేదు, రైట్? సో దే ఆర్ యూజింగ్ డేటా ప్రొడక్ట్స్ ఫ్రమ్ GCP, hybrid networking features from Azure. They're using multi clouds now. Yeah. What is future of, sir, in AWS DevOps and Azure? Sir, if you learn DevOps, first of all, a specific cloud dependency will be gone, because as a DevOps engineer, you should be able to work on premises, on any cloud for that matter. So in addition to that, you have specialization in one cloud. So whether you learn AWS plus DevOps or Azure plus DevOps, both will give you better career options, and salary wise there is no difference. Okay. One advantage, one slight advantage which Azure has is uh, you have relatively less competition when compared to what AWS has. అదొక్కటే, మిగతా ఏమీ లేవు. So you might end up in the job quickly, but when it comes to working, it is equally simple or equally difficult. Okay, there is nothing like AWS is difficult, Azure is simple. No, they are all same. Job opportunities in Azure are more than AWS. That's not true, sir. Okay, what I'm trying to tell is competition in Azure is less when compared to competition in AWS, right? So your chances of getting in early might be real in Azure. Okay, but there is no difference. Not simple, not difficult. Even difference. Yeah, go ahead, sir. No, okay. So generally, when you work with Azure, Azure offers you a free tier account. The way that account works is, tomorrow I'll start my discussion with that. That's the reason I've not spoken about it. So a free tier account where you will get first month, they will give you $200. Okay, not in cash, as credits. You can use anything in Azure worth $200. After that, for 11 months, they will give some services for free, and some services are always free as long as you use the account. In majority of the cases, we will end up using free things also. But whole course, will it run free? I don't think so. So at a max, you would get a bill of 100 to 200 rupees if you use it in the ways which are specified by. But by mistake, even if the bill comes, Azure is waiving it off as long as you are trying to tell that I'm basically learning Azure and it was a mistake. That is what majority of the people do. Okay, so but for opening Azure account, you have to give your you have to give your card information. Okay, so some banks acts, they are debit cards are also working. Yeah. So what about openings for freshers in DevOps and cloud? So openings for freshers in all the streams for the next 2 months is kind of tricky. ఈ 2 నెలల్లో ఫ్రెషర్ కి ఓపెనింగ్ లో ఏ స్ట్రీమ్ లో అన్నా తక్కువే ఉన్నాయి, రైట్? ఈవెన్ ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ డెవలపర్. Okay, so companies are not looking out for people whom they have to take and train again. Okay, right? So they want trained freshers. Okay, so I would not say that you will have loads of opportunities in the, at least not till March. Okay, but skilled freshers come, you have chances. That is what you're trying to become. Yeah. Does AWS involve coding or scripting? We do scripting, sir. If you remember that those command lines, whatever I have written, we will try to put all of that in one script so that we can automate our works. So it will be scripting, not programming. Okay. Am I clear on that, Azam? Yeah. Right. Okay, sir. Thank you.